December 1st. Welcome to the Monday market update. Nikki, how are you doing today? This
I'm
fun.
doing good. I cannot believe it's already December. I know that we say that every year, it goes by, it flies by, but it's just like I feel like this year has gone by so fast. But regardless of that, let's kind of get into it. So, late last week, we saw a nice dip in interest rates down into the mid to upper five range. That was temporary, unfortunately. As of this morning, interest rates are back up into that high five, low six range. Reason for that is Trump announced that he has picked his new Fed chair for next year, once Powell is retired in March, I believe. And he hasn't announced who it is yet. So I can't imagine him waiting a couple weeks, 2, 3 weeks to announce it. So I'm sure we'll hear about it next week. But it kind of threw the market into a bit of a tizzy this morning, and which is why we're seeing higher interest rates. Those should settle back down though throughout the week once we hear more announcements and once the bond market kind of just chills over it. So yeah, initially it was kind of an upset to the market, but we're not locking anything in today. We're waiting, we're floating. So hopefully those interest rates will come back down. I wanted to talk a little bit about predictions for mortgage interest rates for 2026. So, as inflation starts to come down or as it starts to stabilize, and as the Fed continues to cut their interest rates on their end, we should see a dip in mortgage interest rates. Most experts, including Fannie Mae and MBS Highway, are saying that mortgage interest rates could be on average 5.9 throughout 2026. So what does that mean in reality? On average means anything from the high risk loans all the way down to like a VA loan, which tends to have lower interest rates. With that being said, so that averages out to about 5.9, which translates to conventional loans being in the mid to low fives. So that's kind of the predictions throughout 2026. That's good for anybody who has an interest rate above 6.875-ish for possible refinance options in 2026. Especially anyone over 7% will have some good options if those interest rates come true. The probability of that happening is about 65 to 70%, so we should see some relief that we've been long awaiting. There are a few extremist experts that are saying that we're going to see mortgage interest rates into the fours. I mean, these guys are kind of, you know, really extreme. And so I wouldn't say that's going to happen, but we should see some good improvement over the next year. If you think about this, the same time last year when we were talking about what 2025 was going to look like, interest rates were in the upper sevens and we were hoping to get them down into the fives, and we did accomplish that this year. So hopefully we'll get them down into that mid to low five range, if not the upper fours, which would be crazy, but hopefully the predictions are coming true, and these experts are usually spot on with things as they start to see the economic situation improve. So yeah, that's kind of where things are headed. So also, I just wanted to talk about business planning for 2026 and just some reminders and helpful tips that I use when I go on a business plan. I do a reflective look at referral partners and people who I have received business from over the last year, and use that to predict my business moving forward. So if I was very client heavy referral based, I'm going to use that same, idea going forward in 2026 on what was successful. I'm also going to look at the things that didn't work. So for example, I do a lot of TikToking, a lot of, social media stuff that does tend to peripherally bring in business. So in other words, it gets me out there, it gets, people recognizing me, seeing me on the daily, through their feeds and things of that nature. Does it directly bring me business? Not very often, but definitely peripherally. And the idea of if people are thinking about moving and they continue to see my, face on the social media, then they tend to remember like, oh, I know her, I should call her, those types of things. So just a reminder to take a look back at what has worked in the past year and use that to move forward. And then more importantly, take a look at what hasn't worked and make sure that you are very diligent about cutting that out for the next year. Because if you've done it something for an entire year and it hasn't really produced much results, there's no reason to continue to try to keep going. So this is the time to predict your business for next year. This is the time to, just make sure everything is solid, and make sure you have a plan, and make sure that you've cut out the bad and kept the good.
Mhm. 100%. I love that reminder. And I think sometimes people can quit too early
Agreed.
However, that's a great reminder. If it's been a year, that's a good 12-month period where you can reflect back and see if it worked and it didn't. And I've also viewed and seen agents and people just in general just get stuck because they're doing it now. And I love habits and I'm all about routine and I'm all about repetition,
Hmm.
repetition to get there. However, on the flip side of that, if it's not working, then you can absolutely give yourself permission to cut it and try something new.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing is, I know a lot of agents are going to like Chat GPT for ideas and
Yep.
really honing it in and getting a different plan together. Or if
Mhm.
this didn't work, what is working? So know that that's out there. So no, that's a huge reminder, and I love that. And yes, business planning, 'tis the season. I actually had one
Mhm.
I was supposed to go to today, but it got postponed with weather, which I thought the roads were fine, but that's besides the
You
point.
never can tell in Minnesota, I'm telling you.
No, right? And across like different counties, it could be
Yes.
completely different. So I get it.
Yes, very much so.
But yeah, so it is putting the plans together. And so what I love what you said about TikTok and just social media in general. What came to mind as you were talking is that, some over the long haul, you did get business from that, but and it's also the level you show up and how you show up. When I refer you, I also say check her out here. So it is
Mm,
a way to vet you. So like
that's
with
awesome.
me or
Yep.
anyone, or if you're showing up on social media, think about that because that's the first place people go now to
Absolutely.
stalk you and to see
Hmm.
if you're legit or not. And you are obviously 1,000% legit. And after someone, were to look at you, if they're referred to you, it's a no-brainer because of
That's
how
awesome.
you
I
show up. So
appreciate
that's
that.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say that, I even did have, in looking at my business plan, I did have some things that didn't work at all last year. So I tried to start like a networking group down in Arizona, for myself and like just different business owners around on the west side, because that's really where all the new families are moving into. And so I thought, oh, what a great opportunity to start this Facebook page. And then I could start this networking group and we can meet once a month and blah, blah, blah. Did not work at all. I barely got any traction with it. So I'm dumping it. It's fine. It didn't work. I'll use other networking opportunities.
Yeah. And now that space that's open with just you have
Mhm.
to think about it, plan about it, drive there, do it. I mean, now what can you do with that time? So that's an
Exactly.
amazing gift that you give yourself for sure. If it's not
Absolutely.
working, figure it out. That's
Yep. Permission to say goodbye.
yeah, yeah. And this brought up something else that I've been noticing as well. And I know it was controversial back in COVID with agents. And if you have a license, you're held to a different standard. And so with social media, we were, not to be posting, or you could get fined, different things that were controversial or could be viewed as misinformation. So not even knowing where that's at, but I've been watching online a little bit. I've actually stayed off quite a bit, which I know part of my plan. I need to get back on there and do the things. Um, but just beware that as you're posting, and this does not apply to you, Nikki, because you're phenomenal online. You may be attracting and repelling people. So I just really try to stay neutral. Like if you were to go on my Facebook page, I don't think you'd be able to tell, my stance politically,
Hmm.
where I go or what I do, and just there's such a pendulum of swinging. Like you're either here or you're there, and it's just a lot.
It
So
is.
as you're putting your business plan together, and if social media is one of those, if you want to be loud and proud about anything in your life, do it. But have a personal account potentially,
Yep.
or separate the two if you are very outspoken, whether it be political or you have something, like even my husband, we went hunting this weekend and he's like, here, if you want to post this picture. And I was just like, the last time I did, I got some kickback because not
Yep.
everyone wants to see a dead deer across
Exactly.
our Facebook page. So it doesn't
Yep.
even have to be political. It can be, just thinking about things like that. So uh,
Yep.
just as a business owner and as an agent, especially if you're licensed here in Minnesota, you're held to a different ethical degree. So just something that I want to
Absolutely.
mention.
Absolutely. And make sure that if you are doing content based on real estate or in my case, mortgage, that the information that you give is factual, or if it is opinion based, make sure you state that it's opinion.
Mm,
In my opinion, this is only my opinion, those types of things. Or try to give pros and cons both sides. Like, for example, the 50-year mortgage. If I'm doing a TikTok on a 50-year mortgage, I'm going to give the pros and the cons. And I'm just going to say, here's what it is. I'm not going to give my personal opinion.
yeah, love it. Good. Well,
Yeah.
perfect. And I did make a note that I just wanted to go back to, what we're looking at for 2026 and the rates, potentially going down a little bit more. Is there any type of a timeline or any time of the year where you see these? I know that usually I
Yeah.
remember something around March or what
Yeah, they tend to, because of the way that the Fed meetings go, those interest rates will tend to lower around May and June, because of the summer months, because of the way that the real estate market rolls throughout most of the country. Obviously, Arizona's completely different. Arizona's hot right now, not so much in the summer. Well, hot real estate, and it's hot in the summer. So, things slow down in the same way that in Minnesota, the winter are the slow months. But really nationwide, the business will start to pick up in that spring market, and then we'll tend to see lowering of interest rates during that time.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
as usual, appreciate you and your time. It
Absolutely.
is December 1st, so really think about where you guys are going. Nikki's here to help in any way. Of course, I am with your business plan or any questions. Nikki, shout out where to find you.
Yes, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram at mortgages at MN from eight from sorry, at mortgages from MN to AZ. Or you can find me on Facebook at Nikki Erickson or at Dirk Kevnick Mortgage.
Yeah, and if there's any topics you want us to cover on the Monday Market Update, wherever you're at
Yes.
listening to this, whether it be YouTube, on the podcast, or on social media, comment. And if there is a subscribe or a like or a follow button, do that for us. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.